From the Ticats Audio Network, this is Ticats Today with Louie B.
Yes, it is Ticats Today for a Friday, April the 1st, 2022. And you know, the calendar changes to April, which means we are less than a month and a half away from the Ticats opening training camp. I can't believe it. It is so close. You can almost taste it. You know, the weather's starting to change, and it's football season right around the corner. No April Fools here. I was going to come on and tell you how, you know, that Forge FC had signed Michael Domagala to a contract, and that, you know, Bobby was really excited, and that Coach O was really excited. But that's I'm not going to trick you, because the internet is a mean place, and I've already been tricked far too many times today to try and trick you. So we do have a good show for you coming up, as we will hear from the newly named head coach of the Carleton Ravens, a former McMaster Marauders coach, a former Ticat coach, a former Ticat himself, in fact, a 1999 Grey Cup champion. Corey Grant is going to be by. Looking forward to chatting with him about his new role, his memories of his time in Hamilton, and his thoughts on a couple of guys he knows pretty well in Dane Evans and Sean Thomas Erlington. So we'll get to all of that with Corey Grant coming up. And I guess running backs is the theme of today's show, because in just a little bit we'll be joined by the running backs coach of the Ticats currently, and that's Coach Jarryd Baines. So lots of fun stuff to get to on today's show. Thanks for checking us out on the Ticats Audio Network. Always do appreciate it. And if you like what you're listening to, why don't you go ahead and like us wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Subscribe to us wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Leave a review. You know, if you want to say something nice, that's fun too. And if you want to hit me up on Twitter, you can do that at Louie B _TV. But let's start the show as we normally do with some news and notes around the Ticats, and we'll start with an announcement they made earlier when they announced that the team had re-signed receiver and kick returner Marcus Green. He played in one game for the Ticats last year where he had 3 kickoff returns for 56 yards, 7 punt returns for 70 yards, and a missed field goal return for 15 yards. The native of New Albany, Mississippi, was originally selected by the Atlanta Falcons in the 2019 NFL Draft. In addition, spent time with the Philadelphia Eagles. Later in the week, the Ticats signed American offensive tackle DeAndre Wesley. The 29-year-old most recently spent time on the practice roster of the CFL's Edmonton Elks. He's a 6'7", 330-pound native of California and played 7 games over 3 seasons with the Ravens and spent time with the practice squad of the Buffalo Bills and Indianapolis Colts, and was most recently in the XFL with the DC Defenders back in 2020. It was also announced this week that the Hamilton Sports Group Partnership, which own and operate the Ticats and Forge FC, have attained all approvals on its new ownership structure as the CFL Board of Governors and the Canadian Premier League Board of Governors unanimously approved and sanctioned the new ownership structure, and the City of Hamilton has now also approved the official transfer of the master license agreement with Tim Hortons Field to the Hamilton Sports Group. Exciting news there. And this was kind of the big story of the week, as it was announced that the 108th Grey Cup 50-50 raised more than $200,000 for local community initiatives. Yes, a grand total of $200,000 raised through the 50-50 program at the Grey Cup, and proceeds will be benefiting Bernie Custis Secondary School, the Hamilton Bulldogs Foundation, and the local area minor football associations. And we're going to hear from a couple of people here, and we're going to start with Courtney Stephen. He's the Director of Community Partnerships, and caught up with him earlier this week real quick and just asked him what it meant to him, what it meant to the organization to give back to the community in such a big way.
You know, there's a breadth of needs, especially coming out of a year where, you know, fundraising, you weren't able to do many of the activities you normally would, you know, the bake sales and selling goods and going out into community. Those things were off limits. So many programs were in need of critical funding. So whether it be getting new equipment, getting jerseys, getting gym time, transportation, there's so many fees that are associated with running a sports team, running a school, getting kids active out there and being healthy, active, and engaged youth. Like, what we preach here at the Ticats. So all of the things that you could imagine in supporting youth who are playing sports. And then also with the Bulldogs Foundation, they run an awesome meal program where they provide healthy meals to hundreds of kids all throughout the city. So there's a number of causes, but luckily the bounty was plentiful and it will be spread out. Many people are going to be benefiting from this.
That is Courtney Stephen, the Director of Community Partnerships here at the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And, he mentioned giving back, and we had a chance to catch up with the organizations who will be receiving these funds. And we'll start with Bernie Custis Secondary School, as they will receive over $65,000 to help fund the school's sports programs and help offset the considerable costs that are associated with them. I had a chance to catch up with the principal of Bernie Custis Secondary School, Sonia Sykes, and I'll post the full conversation later on, so keep your eyes open for that. But I did want to get to this because it was such an eye-opener for me when she had talked about kids who, when we think of high school sports, we often think that they are people who, they're children, they're teenagers, they're people who play sports outside of school who want to, continue their development at school. That's not always the case, and it's not necessarily the case for the students at Bernie Custis Secondary School. And I asked Sonia about what this money is going to mean for those kids, those students who may have never played organized sports before. Here's what she had to say.
Absolutely. I would say a third to almost half of our students are who we call our multi-language learners. These are students who come to Canada and they already have a plethora of language skills under their belt, and they're learning English as well. So they may come for various reasons, but often our students don't come into our building with a lot of experiences that other students have with recreational sports. And so or their living experience isn't one that provides for the pool in the backyard or a park nearby that has been flooded for them to skate on during the wintertime. So the experience that they have here in high school really is their primary start and initiation into the world of athletics and to sports.
That is Sonia Sykes. She is the principal at Bernie Custis Secondary School, and that school will receive over $65,000 to help fund the school's sports programs. Also receiving money will be Hamilton Area Minor Football Associations, including the Hamilton Hurricanes Football Club. And I had a chance to catch up with Mike Samuel. He's the president of the Hamilton Hurricanes, and asked him just kind of where the money will be spent. Here's what he had to say.
I know a lot of clubs like ours, our registration costs are going to go down because of this money that's injected into us. And I think a lot of organizations are going to be in the same boat. Everyone, from every minor organization, from Brantford to Niagara to Burlington, all groups in Hamilton, everything is budgeted for a yearly. What is it going to cost us to run this effectively and efficiently in the safest way for all these kids? And we work backwards. How much can we rely on local donations, alumni sponsorship? And then from there, you have to price it out with what's it going to cost for each player playing that sport. With the money being donated to these organizations, obviously the costs are definitely going to go down. It's going to be a huge help, and it makes it more accessible for the low income. On top of that, if I could add, Jumpstart offers a very good program for those who qualify as low income that want to get involved with football. They also can contribute money towards a player's registration. So that's another big factor.
That is Mike Samuel. He's the president of the Hamilton Hurricanes Football Club. And finally, the Hamilton Bulldogs Foundation will receive over $65,000 to help further their mandate to enrich the lives of youth in the greater Hamilton community. And we had a chance to catch up with Peggy Chapman. She's the executive director of the Hamilton Bulldogs Foundation. And I wanted a kind of a personal touch from Peggy, and I asked, in her years with the Bulldogs Foundation, what's been most rewarding for her? Here's what she had to say.
I was fortunate to meet Mr. Andelauer in a previous world in politics that I was in, and the minute that I went to a news conference at a school that the breakfast program was in, I started volunteering on Tuesday mornings at the schools because it meant so much. And you could see how the families and the children appreciated it. And so he tells the story to the schools. He doesn't really tell it publicly, but when he first started with the AHL Bulldogs, it was a literacy program. That's generally what the NHL AHL did. And talking to a principal, he said to the principal, "Isn't this wonderful?" And the principal said, "It really is." And he said, "What other challenges do you have?" And the principal said to him, "Well, literacy is a great thing, but with a hungry stomach and a hungry mind, it's hard to be able to take all of that in." And that touched Mr. Andelauer deeply, and we changed to a nutrition program.
And that is Peggy Chapman. She's the executive director of the Hamilton Bulldogs Foundation, one of the organizations that is receiving a share of the $200,000 that was raised thanks to the 108th Grey Cup 50-50, all going back to local community initiatives. All right, very pleased now as we shift our focus to the running back spot. In fact, the running backs coach spot, as I'm very pleased now to be joined by the running backs coach. His name is Jarryd Baines. And coach, I was just kind of looking back through your resume ahead of this interview, and it's hard for me to believe. I've been here a while, but I can't believe you're on your 7th year with the Hamilton Tiger Cats organization. Does it feel like it's been 7 years for you, coach?
Yeah, it's been time flies when you're having fun. It's been a hell of a ride. I've been through a few different head coaches, a lot of different positional coaches, but all good men and good people. And it's pretty easy to come to work every day when you're working in football. Like it's kind of been my dream my whole life. And, I'm just lucky to work around good people that keep it fun and keep it light for me. And I'm just holding on for dear life because I truly do love it. I love the team. I love the city. I've just moved to Hamilton officially. I'd always kind of been around. I was in Dundas. I was in Burlington. I was in Waterdown. So now I'm officially in the Hammer. So it's been a hell of a ride.
Well, this Dundas and Waterdown are still technically Hamilton, right?
Right,
okay.
right.
I know, but I know what you mean.
I'm in the heart of it now. I'm in the heart of it now.
There you go. I knew what you were talking about. Let's talk about the new role here, because last year with the receivers, you had a really young group, and I'm sure that there was an eagerness to keep working with them. And I'm not saying you're abandoning the wide receivers by any stretch, but it is a new role for you as the running backs coach. Take us through that process.
Yeah, it just kind of the way it worked with Coach Reinbold leaving, who was essentially the special teams as well as the running backs coach last year. And then the opportunity to bring in Jason Phillips, who's a guy who's played in this league before and has a tremendous, resume at the receiver position. It just kind of made sense for me to transition to a spot where I've worked with the running backs in the past. In my first couple of years here, I was a lot closer with that group than probably any of the other groups. So I've had a history there. And it was just, for me, it was an easy opportunity to add to my tool belt in terms of, hey, it's just another position group. I have the familiarity. I played linebacker in the past. So that's kind of the sister position, you'd say, of running back. So, it just made sense. And it was kind of presented to me by Coach O and Tommy at the end of the year. And I jumped at it because it was something I'm familiar with. I will still be able to work closely with the receivers that I already have a great relationship with in certain ways. But it's an opportunity to build on, the relationship I have with, like you said, Don, Earls, Malik, who am I missing? Wes. So it's guys who have already been here. It should make my life a whole lot easier working with those guys because they have a built-in familiarity with the system.
And there is so much crossover. I mean, the way the offense works and the way Tommy draws things up. I mean, you got to be able to have good hands if you're a running back. You got to have some speed if you're a receiver. Just how much crossover is there between those two positional groups?
It's a lot. It's a lot. We're definitely a team that prides ourselves on being versatile, being kind of a hybrid offense, being able to do a lot of different things. I haven't ran numbers on this. I haven't ran stats on this, but I would definitely say that, our running backs are being used out of the backfield, probably more so than the other CFL teams. So there's the familiarity with that. Even with the receivers, we like to bring our receivers into protection a lot. So there's a lot of crossover in that end. There's certain nuances within some of our run game, but even our receivers are using the run game. So there's a familiarity built in with that. So it's a lot of crossover. There's probably obviously more of a protection focused with the running backs, where with the receivers is more, hey, let's make plays. Protection will come second. For us as the running backs, protection is definitely first. We're trying to keep the quarterback up. But if we do get the opportunity to come into the backfield, run the football, we will take advantage of it. And like you said, we definitely need to have capable hands coming out of the backfield, because it's something that we're going to do fairly often during the year.
So to that point, how do you feel like your experience as a linebacker at the youth sports level and you know, your experience coaching, how do you feel like your experience on defense can help these running backs who might have never taken a snap on the defensive side of the ball in their career?
It's probably just experience with scheme, understanding what defenses are trying to do. And I think, I'm not going to be in the backfield making the cuts for the running backs or making the blocks, but I think it is valuable to provide them the information of, here's exactly what the defense is trying to do. This is how they're trying to take away the run. Here's what we expect them to do in the pressure game. So I think it more so just helps add to their kind of knowledge of the defense and their understanding of what is intended to be happening on their part. And I think it's just giving them more information to execute the concepts and the schemes and the protections that they already know. So hopefully that's kind of where I'll slot in, is just helping simplify things for them and hopefully slow it down for them in the long run with some of the information I'll be able to provide.
Is there a comfort level, or is it a challenge to come into a positional room who, like you said, with Reinbold kind of running backs and special teams last year, is it a comfort or is it a challenge coming into a room where guys already have something kind of set from last season? I mean, we just mentioned 4 names. It's not too often you get all 4 of your running backs back, but that's what you're going into this season.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's a little bit of both. I think, to me, the comfort is that I have a relationship already and it's built in, but it's always a challenge because there's 4 very good running backs in that room, and I know they're all going to push each other. So I think for me, it's just about finding the way to get us all in sync and for each of us to hold each other accountable and to build up on the success we've already had. So I think it's a little bit of both. The comfort is in the relationship, but the challenge is just wanting to build off a great season already for them and make 4 pretty damn good running backs even better and try to take them to that next level. And it's not just going to come from me. It'll come from themselves pushing each other as well. So that's kind of where the challenge lies.
Can you take us in your relationship with Coach Tommy? You guys have worked together a long time. Now, like I said, you worked with receivers last year, running backs this year. He obviously has trust in you. What's that relationship like day to day, and specifically right now at this point of the season, when he's building his playbook, when he's checking in, asking, what's that like?
Yeah, he's been a tremendous mentor to me. Obviously this will be our 3rd season working together. Actually, when I first got hired, he was the offensive coordinator. So we had actually a relationship from 6 years ago. Obviously he had left after that, but he's been an amazing mentor to me. With that, it's been really cool to be able to, as our relationship has built, I think he's entrusted me more to offer advice or to be a sounding board for him in terms of as he's building the game plan. I think that's kind of where it's grown, is it's really grown more on the football side. From the start, from the jump, I've been very tight with him and his family. He's got 4 amazing young boys. His wife, Mandy's amazing. But it's really more so been on the football side that I've seen a relationship grow. And I think as he trusts that I kind of am on the same wavelength as him, that he's kind of empowered me more to help with those things in the off season, during the season. And kind of as we go through this off season, like you said, it's a lot of kind of review. Let's review our team. Let's review the defenses we played, and then let's kind of build and decide what that's going to look like for training camp and how our offense is going to evolve for the 2022 version of the Ticats from previous 2021 and 2019.
What are you most excited about when, we're about 2 months away, less than a month and a half, I guess I would say, about guys starting to come back? We've seen guys around the facility the last few weeks. What are you most excited about come May 15th, let's say, day 1 of training camp?
Probably the first padded practice. I always like to see a little contact, but I don't know if that's the political answer. That's always one that I love. But yeah, I think like you said, it's practice. I think that's where, as coaches, we have, obviously the practice and the games are the most fun, but I think being out on the field is really my comfort zone for me. So I wouldn't say, yes, training camp day one practice, but that first padded practice specifically, it's a little different for the receivers, not as much contact, but for the running backs is that first padded practice or that first padded scrimmage we have should be pretty fun. So that's probably what I'm most excited for.
As someone who has watched, I don't know, about 250, 500 Ticats practices the last couple of years, I can vouch for that. Your excitement on the practice field is basically unmatched. Maybe Donnie J is a little bit more pumped up out there other than you. But Coach Baines, thanks for doing this. It's always great to check in with you. Can't wait to see you down at the stadium sooner rather than later. So thanks for taking some time today.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Louie. See you soon.
And my thanks to Jarryd Baines for joining me on today's show. And we go from the current Ticats running backs coach to a former Ticats running backs coach. Of course, he's so much more than that. Corey Grant has been named the new head coach of the Carleton Ravens football team. He's the 14th head coach in the Ravens varsity football program. He came from McMaster, where he served as assistant coach and offensive coordinator since 2019. Prior to that, he had an 11-year career, as we know, with the Ticats, a two-time Grey Cup champion, a lengthy resume, a teacher, the Hamilton Wentworth District School Board. Hamilton boy through and through, now on his way to Ottawa. And Coach, first of all, congratulations on this new role. What an awesome accomplishment.
Thank you so much. I'm excited. I keep saying excited, nervous, all those emotions going through, but starting to I'm starting to settle in now and excited about that next step with the family.
Now, this must have been a tough decision because, like, when I go through your resume, right, growing up in Stony Creek, playing youth ball, being a Ticat, working with McMaster, just how difficult was it for you to make this decision to move to a whole new city?
At first, it was, as it's going along, it was difficult in the beginning because it was one of those questions of, my wife grew up here. I've grown up here. I've left just with playing, and I've been in Montreal and during my playing times, but my kids have grown up. And that's really the biggest change and the biggest thing that was the worry as I was going through this process is my daughter's 13, my son is 11, and how they would react. We have family and friends, but now asking them to pick up, follow daddy, and go to a new city. So that's really been the big thing. If it was just my wife and I, hey, let's pick up and go. But, with the kids being involved, always in the back of our mind, okay, this move is going to be big and how's that going to affect them? But everything I hear about Ottawa, and in a couple of my off seasons when I was training, I used to live up there. And I hear it's a great town to raise a family, and my kids are starting to get excited for the next step.
That's awesome. When you look at your resume, it might come, why didn't this happen sooner? Why haven't you been a head coach sooner? You got the credentials, but why was now the right time, other than the fact that they offered you a job? Why was now the right time for you to take that experience and take on the challenge of being a head coach? Because as awesome as the role is, you do know it comes with added expectations and responsibilities.
Yeah, it does. I just felt with everything I've been preparing and every step along the way, I think now has been the right time for myself and the family, right? And I've grown in the mentorship from Tommy Condell, Coach O, June Jones, Ken Austin, all those coaches, Coach Potasic, and all the things I've learned over these last few years. I think I prepared myself, and not just with football, but just off the field wise and all of those things that I've been involved in. I thought just now was what better time than right now. Great program that I know I'm going into, and the help and the support that's there. I just said, you know what, let's throw my resume in there. And if I get the call, we'll roll with it. And that's what I am right now.
Very exciting indeed. The Carleton Ravens went 2-4 last season, so definitely room for improvement. When you look at the squad you're taking over, what gets you excited? Where are you seeing that you might have some work in the spring camps here? But when you look at the team as it's currently assembled, I'm sure actively recruiting. But what kind of gets you revved up when you look at this team?
First and foremost, though, they did make the playoffs.
Yes, they did.
So 2-4, it doesn't matter. I was somewhere that didn't make the playoffs, so it didn't matter. They got in the playoffs, so they're on the right track there. You want to get in the playoffs, and you get a chance to get in to the dance. For me, I think it's just, one, it's the support from administration. And when I think about Carleton and of the outsider coming in, I think about the excellence that they're looking for in all of their programs. And then when it comes for the football team, the young nucleus that got an opportunity to play last year and get that experience and get into the playoffs and see what that is. And a quarterback that is coming back, because everything is built around that, especially in youth sports, and having a veteran quarterback that's coming back for that, for his final year. And that experience that those young players were able to get last year, I think getting into that and then building on that and then moving forward, I'm just excited about those opportunities and what can be.
Now, I've been around youth sports for 5, 6, 7 years. I've been around junior hockey. There's one thing I've noticed about players is in the generational change, and maybe I'm offside here, but you're up close with players, especially the last few years in youth sports. Am I offside in saying that there has been a generational change in the way you approach players, the way you work with players, that it does take some sort of learning, that, maybe a style that motivated you when you were in youth sports in the 90s is not the way you can replicate that in 2022. Is that fair to say, or do you feel like players want to be coached no matter the style?
Yeah, I think players want to be coached no matter what. They enjoy that discipline. They enjoy that hard work and understanding. It doesn't matter what level you're at, that you can get them to that next level, to that potential that they have. So they want to be coached. They want to be coached hard, and they want those expectations of winning, or else they wouldn't play this great game and at any level. I think there is a way to deal with players now that might be a little bit differently than we dealt with players in the past and that I was dealt with growing up. But again, in the essence of, in the end, they want to be coached hard. They want to be held accountable, and then they want to win. Right. And that expectation of winning. And if they know and truly believe that you care for them and that they can trust you and that you're going to do everything in your power as a coach and as a coaching staff to get them to become better individuals on and off the field, then that's all they really want.
Now, I do want to ask you some Ticats related questions. We'll go back to your coaching days from here. And Dane Evans was the backup. He was kind of the third quarterback. You go back to camp at McMaster, he had 4 quarterbacks in that camp. 3 of them are projected to be starters in the East Division this year, in Jeremiah, Vernon, and of course, Dane Evans. What did you see from Dane Evans, even back then, that kind of told you that this guy has what it takes to be a number one in this league?
It's his work ethic, right? He came in and he would be in there with the other quarterbacks. So that work ethic that he had, that's the intangible. Sometimes guys think, well, I'm not the starter. He was always preparing as if he was the starter. He'd be asking those questions at times, and then he'd be helping me, right, as a position coach. And, okay, I see this, I'm seeing that. What do you see here? And having those different conversations. So he was always preparing as if he knew at any moment he could be that guy that's going in. And he I felt that he was always making sure that he was ready to go. So those are some of those intangibles. Also, and he's a winner.
Yeah.
And he's a winner every level. And the other piece is, even at that time, players would follow him, right? And so that leadership ability, sometimes as a leader, you're put in that role where you have to speak up and do those things. But Dane would lead in different ways. And that would be whether it's his work ethic, how he prepared, how he was helping other guys understand what was going on in the offense and doing those things. He was built for it, and you could see it. And now you can see the fruits of all of that coming forward.
I'll throw another player at you here, and Sean Thomas Erlington. I know you worked with him a lot, and we've seen from early, like, flashes 2020, and then just an awful injury that ended his season. We saw it again last year, those flashes of games that he can go off. His potential, there's no question. How does he activate that potential, and where do you see his ceiling?
I think the sky's the limit for him. It's going to be getting those opportunities, staying healthy, and then taking advantage of them. And then once he gets in there and he grasps that, he's just going to take over, right? And I think everybody could see that first year where he started and then he got hurt, but he was starting to get into that groove. I think once he gets that confidence back again, and you could see flashes of it last year, comes into camp this year, has that confidence. He has all the tools to be a back that next great Canadian back. He has all those tools. I think getting the opportunity again, taking hold of it, and then just rolling. And everybody can see it now. He's just got to roll with that.
Well said. Let's finish up here. Back to you sports, the Panda game. Do you already have it circled on your calendar? And how much do you think those those Labor Day classics, you'll be able to bring those feelings and be able to kind of translate that into the sidelines.
Yeah. So as I was going through, I keep hearing about this Panda game, and I'm like, okay, were you a part of it? No, not a part of it. To me, it's just another game on the schedule. But now I equate it to Labor Day. And I've been in Saskatchewan where I've been in the Labor Days, and Hamilton, been in those Labor Day games, and understand how important it is. Doesn't matter what the season's going or how it's going. It's that midway point, and that's that game you have to win. So I'll have a really great understanding of that. And I'm excited for it because I haven't seen that on that youth sports level. But having those Labor Days behind me, I'll be able to pull from that, understand the excitement about it, understanding everything that goes around with it, but letting the players know, hey, once we cross those lines, it's about playing on the field and being locked in those games. But it is circled. I'm excited to do it. And it's not about winning what the QEW, it's about winning Ottawa.
Yeah,
right? I'm excited for that.
It's a big city and a lot on the line in that Panda game. Coach, I know you are a very busy guy. You just got hired as head coach of a youth sports team. So I appreciate the 10 minutes you gave me here today. And I may be calling you up, see how the season's going throughout the year, just to bug you and pick your ear a little bit.
Hey, I appreciate it. Appreciate all the work you're doing. And you can do that anytime. I'm still in Hamilton here. I know my kids are Ticat fans. My parents are still Ticat fans for life. And, I might have some Ticat gear or something over there on the wall, a Grey Cup jersey or something like that.
All right. Well, you told me I can do it, so I'm definitely going to take you up on it. Coach Grant, thanks for doing this. Best of luck as everything starts to pick up. I know there's no downtime, but I'm sure things are going to pick up fast and furious. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
My thanks to Corey Grant for joining me on today's show. My thanks to Jarryd Baines. My thanks to Sonia Sykes, the principal at Bernie Custis. My thanks to Mike Samuel, president of the Hamilton Hurricanes Football Club. My thanks to Peggy Chapman, executive director of the Hamilton Bulldogs Foundation. My thanks to Courtney Stephen, the director of community partnerships for the Ticats. My thanks to you for listening to today's show. We appreciate it as always, as we could not do the show without your support. And before we go, just wanted to give a quick shout out as Thursday night at the Hamilton Warplane Heritage Museum, we had our 2022 Forge FC kickoff party. It was a great event. Shout out to Shirley, who came up to me and said hi. Big Ticats fan, big Forge FC fan. So shout out to Shirley, and a big shout out to all my coworkers on the marketing side and the content side here. Zach, Corey, Dan, Eva, Sophie, Chuds, Scott, make sure I don't forget anybody here. It was an amazing event, but more than that, it was awesome to see the team, my team, the one that I get to work with every day, come together and pull off something that was really cool and really fun. So thank you to everybody who came out. Thank you to my coworkers for being such great people as well, because they make this job fun. The sports make it fun too, but it's always the people that make the experience worth it. All right, that'll do it for us today. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Enjoy the first weekend of April. We'll be back next week for the Ticats Audio Network. I'm Louie B. Hoping you have a great day.